But I think it's kind of science fiction-y and kind of interesting, the idea that the Earth like generates a messenger every so and again. My only gripe with that is I've been toying with the idea that we're entering into an age where we'll have more than one, that we need to maybe drop the idea of needing a Messiah.
Yeah, I was just going to
take responsibility for yourself. Not that you shouldn't respect a wise teacher. That's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm saying that
making the mistake of worshiping or like idolizing too much.
That seems to be a hallmark of what tanks any good religion. Is like putting all the thing on the teacher's literally saying, do like I'm doing. You're going to do more than me. And we always ignore that part. Be your own Messiah.
Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction video. And in this one, we are looking at an introduction into the Baha'i Faith. So this is the first time we've ever looked at anything from the Baha'i Faith. This is done from BahaiTeachings.org. So let's get into it.
Get into it.
Hi, my name is Rainn Wilson, and here's an animated introduction to the Baha'i Faith that I put together with the help of some friends. So I'm going to be trying to give you a general overview of the Baha'i Faith, and it does bear noting.
You know who Rainn Wilson is, right? No. He's Dwight from The Office.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I was going to say something that I knew he was part of the Baha'i Faith.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That there are no clergy in the Baha'i Faith, so I'm just a regular Baha'i, just like all of the other regular Baha'is on the planet, and I have my own perspective, my own way of seeing the world and interpreting the Baha'i holy writings. There are no rabbis or priests or gurus or mullahs in the Baha'i Faith, no intermediaries between the common worshiper or devotee and the holy writings or God. That is to say that this little exploration in no way should be viewed as definitive or official in any way, just one guy's perspective on what his faith is about. I want to start off by talking about the word cosmology. Literally, the word means the study of the cosmos. Logia plus universe or cosmos, something like that. But I'm using the word as it relates to an overarching worldview, taking a look at a belief system from a 20,000-foot perspective. So before we get to the cosmology of the Baha'i Faith, let's take a quick look at some of the other ones. What is the cosmology of atheism, for instance? Probably some words and thoughts come immediately to mind, like science and evolution, the Big Bang. So the atheist universal belief system, or cosmology, in broad strokes, is that there was a big empty space and then there was some kind of explosion from a tiny speck, and within seconds, atoms erupted and formed into molecules and elements, and all of this energy and matter burst forth from this primal point, eventually becoming galaxies and solar systems and planets like ours. Energy, matter, plus apparently dark matter and dark energy, and time itself were all created in one random explosion over 13 billion years ago. So our watery mudball Earth was spinning around our sun for a few billion years, and then something happened. I don't know, maybe a lightning bolt hit an ocean or a meteorite fell in and created the first tiny specks of molecular life. The specks eventually became guppies, which eventually became tadpoles and eventually crawled on land and became pterodactyls and marmosets and bunnies and apes and then human beings. Voila, evolution. Science is then the driving force behind the universe, which has no underlying or objective meaning, according to an atheist or materialist. The consciousness that we are experiencing right now is simply a result of our highly evolved and very large brains. There's not any real difference between us and monkeys. We just have larger brains that have evolved into being able to know that we will someday die. Brains that can create beautiful works of art, fall in love. Our highly evolved consciousness is simply a matter of more evolved gray matter. The only meaning we find in life is purely subjective and personal. If our work gives us meaning, or our family, or children, or hobbies, or nature, great. Go for that thing. There's not supernatural creator God, as his existence can't be scientifically verified, and therefore there's no objective moral truth.
First of all, the animation I really like. I dig the animation.
It's very simple, but it gets to the point. Yeah. Right off the bat, the first thing that he said, that I liked how he kind of set it up, where it was like, this is just like one individual's perspective, right? And I like how he said it's like a 20,000 foot view trying to get meta perspective, almost like get on top of it and like pull yourself out of it. And because like that relates to me. I'm like, oh, I find that very relatable.
What do you mean?
Like trying to pull yourself out of belief systems and see what's going on around the earth from as a whole, like getting out of your bubble or one little paradigm of looking at things, and then getting like, you know, a meta perspective and looking down and trying to observe what's going on from the farthest distance possible, almost.
Yeah, for sure. And he's like kind of leaving. So it's like he's leaving some breadcrumbs of where this is going. Yeah. First of all, by saying that that's what he intends to do, and then now he's getting into atheism, and I assume he's going to get into some other belief systems too, and kind of tie it all together.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Now let's think about what a Christian cosmology might look like. Forgive me for being reductive or simplistic with either of these belief systems, but in a nutshell, there were a number of Jewish prophets every few hundred years in and around Judea and Palestine, and then all of a sudden, God sent his only begotten Son. Jesus Christ was born of the virgin birth, was baptized, saw the Holy Spirit manifested in a dove, and preached the gospel, performed many miracles, and eventually was put to death. The only way to the Father is through him, and he died for our sins on the cross, and then was resurrected 3 days later and went back up to be with his Father. Someday he will return and take true believers with him and or rebuild the kingdom of God on earth. The Christian universe view holds that salvation of one's immortal soul comes from believing in Christ, being baptized, and that good Christians eventually go to heaven and that most others go to hell. Now, there's a lot more to Christianity than that, just as there's more to atheism than what I previously described, but it gives you a wide-angle lens view of what they believe. Now, let's take a look at the Baha'i cosmology. I'll start with one word, one name, Baha'u'lláh. Baha'is follow the teachings of Baha'u'lláh, who was the founder of the Baha'i Faith. He lived not long ago, actually, in the mid-1800s, and was a Persian nobleman who turned away from his high-status position and instead became a great spiritual teacher. The name Baha'u'lláh means the glory of God. In Arabic, Baha is glory and Allah is God, of course. It's those two words kind of mashed up together.
Ooh, well, I wonder if there's any tie there, like if there could be like Baha'i Muslims or something like that, because they use the term, using the term Allah in there.
Yeah, on the offset, it seems like they used it because Allah, the meaning of the word
Arabic, or it could have been regional.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning God.
And this is what Baha'u'lláh taught. Baha'is believe there is only one God. Call him or her or it whatever you like, Allah, Jehovah, Gaia, the Great Spirit, but all people who worship are praying to the same God, an all-loving, all-knowing creative force in us and around us, as well as in an infinite amount of other universes beyond this material one. So, point number one, there is only one God. This is the first key aspect of the Baha'i cosmology. One God, remember that. The next aspect is that there is only one religion. That's right. Baha'u'lláh taught that there is, in actuality, only one religion. Now you might say, hey, that sounds crazy. There's dozens of religions and they all believe in hundreds of very different things. How can that be? Well, Baha'u'lláh taught that there is only one faith ever unfolding as revealed by that one God that I previously mentioned. This one faith is gradually revealed and updated by certain divine teachers who come along every 500 or 1,000 years or so. You've heard of many of them before. Holy men or prophets or messengers that go by the names of Abraham, Zoroaster, Krishna, Moses, the Buddha, Jesus and Muhammad, the forerunner of the Baha'i Faith, the Bab, and now Baha'u'lláh. Think of it this way. You have a computer that gets various updates to its operating system, right? You've got Cougar and then Leopard and then Mountain Tiger and Mountain Leopard 3.5, etc. They all build on one another. When you get a new operating system, it's an update to what was there previously. Same with iPhones. You had the 3 and then the 3S and the 5 Plus and now the 7 or 8 or whatever phone is next. Well, it's the same thing with religion. Just as humanity needs to progress materially, socially, and technologically, we as a species need to progress spiritually as well. God takes care of this by sending his specially appointed messengers and teachers to update his message or his operating system. Baha'is call this idea of a gradually unfolding faith of God progressive revelation. Baha'u'lláh calls this one faith that is progressively revealed the changeless faith of God, eternal in the past, eternal in the future. And eventually, a long time from now, this creator will send more holy teachers for humanity's spiritual guidance. Now, it would be easy to look at the differences in the various religious faiths that these men founded. There are certainly a great deal of differences between, say, Islam and Buddhism. But if you really look at what the prophets themselves taught, what they specifically said, or what they were supposed to have said, remember, people usually didn't write down what they were saying for hundreds of years after they died, there are way more similarities than differences. What are some of these universal truths taught by these divine manifestations of God? Well, how about the idea that we should all love one another? That's pretty universal through all religions. All you need is love. The golden rule exists in some form in literally every major world religion. What about the idea that there is a reality greater than our merely physical life, that there is some kind of afterlife, that our reality is not that we are just bodies in three-dimensional space, but that we have a soul or spirit that continues on its journey after the lease on our meat suits runs out, that this material world is kind of an illusion and that there is a deeper reality above, beyond, and behind this physical veil. This goes hand in hand with the concept that we have dual natures. Although the physical world has its importance, the pursuits of selfish animal, sensual, or ego-focused desires and fulfillments of our baser needs is pointless and will not ultimately make us happy. But if we pursue spiritual service to others and goodly deeds and compassionate acts, they will lead to true fulfillment and spiritual bliss. Prayer and meditation, those are two universal actions for enlightenment that run through all the world's major religions. The concept that there is a divinely ordained idea of right and wrong, a morality, as it were, good deeds and bad deeds, and that there are reverberations and repercussions for both. The list of commonalities goes on and on. So what did Baha'u'lláh,
So what do you think, like, if you came from a very strict practice in another religion and you start hearing about what are the things that he's saying here, do you see it as something that is going to be met with, there's like some type of understanding and growth there, or are you going to be like, well, no, because the reason there's so many religions is because we have the right way of doing things and theirs is clearly the wrong way, and that's why we're over here in this group doing our thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's typical. Like, well, it depends. You can't really paint with broad strokes, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that if they subscribe to a particular organized religion, they're not going to entertain something else.
Yeah. I'm curious about where this is going too, because he was talking about kind of like the evolution, how like spiritual leaders come and go, and like obvious questions are like, well, okay, who's deeming who is putting a crown on that spiritual leader and saying, yeah, that was one of them. Who gets to decide that?
Well, it seems kind of like a scientific religion to some degree, because they seem to test things by their like merit, by their like measurable success within humanity and stuff like that. That seems to be how things get incorporated, kind of like Buddhism in a way.
I like the understanding of the holistic perspective that it's taking here. Like I like that where he's going with it. I was thinking that there could be some troubles with that evolutionary ladder, because to me sometimes I feel with like in organized religions that it's always a one-up to try and like get a monopolization on the truth, right? Mm-hmm. I see that as being kind of one of the hindrances sometimes. It's like, well, we have the truth, and then there's like another guy comes a few hundred years later and is like, nope. And then like he tries to start a faith or whatever.
Thousands of years later.
Yeah, thousands.
Thousands, yeah.
Yeah, like and it, because that's the whole thing, right? It's like you've got like in the Abrahamic religions, like there was like Zoroastrianism, and then Judaism, Christianity with their guy, then Islam, and then this guy came after the Muhammad. I didn't even know that. This is the first time I've learned about this. Mm-hmm. So Does this now, as this new evolution from the Baha'i Faith, saying that, well, everything else, it's okay, you can still do what you're doing, but there's also this here now, because all the ones below it, they all say that no, you can't. It's within the confines of this space that you have to work. Yeah. And this seems like it's saying that it's okay to do that, and you're all okay.
Yeah, that's a good question though, to see where the line is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because and how many religions and prophets does it incorporate? All of them?
Yeah,
there's a lot. There's quite a few. Yeah. But I think it's kind of science fictiony and kind of interesting, the idea that the Earth generates a messenger every so and again. My only gripe with that is I've been toying with the idea that we're entering into an age where we'll have more than one. That we need to maybe drop the idea of needing a Messiah.
Yeah, I was just gonna
take responsibility for yourself. Not that you shouldn't respect a wise teacher. That's not what I'm saying.
Yes,
I'm saying that
making the mistake of worshiping or idolizing too much.
That seems to be a hallmark of what tanks any good religion. Is putting all the thing on the teacher's literally saying, "Do like I'm doing. You're going to do more than me," and we always ignore that part. Be your own Messiah.
The most recent prophet of God teach? Well, I'd like to go to a metaphor about these prophets that is really interesting. Baha'u'lláh calls these holy teachers divine physicians. He says this, and it's kind of a long quote, so get ready. You ready? Okay, here we go. The all-knowing physician hath his finger on the pulse of humankind. He perceiveth the disease and prescribeth in his unerring wisdom the remedy. Every age has its own problem, and every soul its particular aspiration. The remedy the world needeth in its present-day afflictions can never be the same as that which a subsequent age may require. Be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age ye live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. So as I see it, in a nutshell, he's saying that these divine physicians come down to earth at a specific time and place and do two things. They diagnose the illness for the time and place, and they prescribe a cure, a spiritual cure for what the world needs at that time, just like a doctor. But, and it's the last sentence of the quote that I love most, be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age you live in. The last sentence is a command. Be anxiously concerned, and basically focus your conversations and actions on today's urgent needs and look for solutions. So, and here's my question for you. If you were a divine physician sent down to diagnose the world's spiritual problems in this modern age of humanity, what would you come up with? And what would you prescribe for that illness? I'll give you a second. Okay, time's up. I'm guessing you might have thought about all the disunity on the planet today, right? Differences of race, class, economics, gender issues, politics. Well, this brings us to the main spiritual teaching of Baha'u'lláh. The earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens. In other words, the third major key point of the Baha'i cosmology, one humanity. The differences that divided us for eons must be healed, as we are, in this day and age, one human family, and need to act like it. Today, about 1 billion people go to bed hungry each night. If your brother or sister or family member went to bed hungry, would you allow it? Racism is probably something that popped up in your brain as you were ruminating before. The elimination of racial prejudice is one of the most central tenets of the Baha'i Faith, and a must for healing humanity and uniting us all. And that goes hand in hand with another big issue that probably came up for you in your personal diagnosis. Economic injustice, the disparity between rich and poor. Right now, 26 men own as much wealth as half the planet. That's 3.7 billion people. Now, there's nothing wrong with those 26 men starting awesome businesses, but this statistic is just plain wrong. It's unjust and unsustainable. It's also unjust and unsustainable that women are treated like second-class citizens, subjugated in the developing world as well as in the West. Baha'u'lláh was perhaps the first spiritual teacher to advocate for gender equality and justice. And this was back in the 1860s in the Middle East, a truly revolutionary act. Baha'u'lláh also addressed the need for science and religion to be in harmony. He said they were like the two wings of a bird, and we need both wings to fly. Baha'u'lláh once wrote, "Religion without science is superstition. Science without religion is materialism." So Baha'u'lláh, Baha'is believe, is the divine physician for this day and age, the prophet for the modern world, and is seeking to unify humanity. He said, "Let your vision be world-embracing." And he also said, all men have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. Millions of Baha'is around the world are doing our best to put his teachings into action each day, bring love and harmony to an ailing planet, fight for social justice from a spiritual perspective, and live lives of service. I guess the thing I'll leave you with is an action item. To read some of Baha'u'llah's writings, investigate his faith, maybe check out Baha'i.org or BahaiTeachings.org, and make a decision. He is one of two things. Either he is a very, very wise man who brought beautiful, important, mystical teachings of peace, or he is who he says he is, and is a divine physician sent by God, giving humanity what it most desperately needs in this day and age. Either way, let's all work together, atheist, Christian, Baha'i, and everyone else, to make the world a more loving, just, and better place. Thanks for listening.
Wow, I learned a few things off of that. That was really cool. There's a lot about the Baha'i faith that I like. I'm curious to know what, like, the deeper intricacies of the faith, though. Like, is there, like, rituals and things that they do? Do they go to temples? Do they pray? Like, do they have ceremonies and things like that they do? But it seems pretty, like, free-floating. Like, you can kind of, like... Because a lot of that, I'm like, yep, that sounds good. That sounds like a lot of, like, good in there.
I've known about it for years because I used to follow Elliot Holst a lot, and he was a Baha'i Faith guy.
Oh, okay.
He was a strong man, and he used to do YouTube Ask Elliot advice stuff. And he came from that, I think. And then I knew Rainn Wilson was. And yeah, it seems like an interesting, very, logical... yet embracing the spiritual side of things, also religion.
Yeah, kind of a little bit ahead of its time. If it sounds like it might be one of the first religions to... Well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say that, like, merging science with religion, but we've studied a bunch of religions. Even in Hinduism, they're big on, like, science and stuff like that, studying the cosmos. But I think what they were focusing on there was, like, the connection point, the needing of each other, and finding that equilibrium.
If I was going to play Satan's advocate,
okay, devil's advocate.
Santos. I would say with that thing, yeah, a lot. I think there's sometimes often with, like, highly intelligent or prophet type people. Sometimes they can point to where we're going to be going, but I think they get the time frames a little confused sometimes, like. I do think if humanity, especially if we want to survive, we need to unify. Like, only if we want to survive. If we want to doom ourselves, let's stay separate and angry at each other. Yes, of course, we should move forward into unity and everything like that. But I think that's like a nuanced effort that happens and is the responsibility of, like, that's a big responsibility of some very responsible, intelligent people to, like, orchestrate. You know what I mean? People think that you can throw the map in the hand of just anyone. Yeah. And I don't see that. You know what I mean? Luckily, I trust y'all. I think if you're watching us, I already have said this before. I think you're in that percentile that is open to some intelligent things. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is just trying to find a criticism. That sometimes it'll be like, do this and do that, and it's all really nice. It's like, are you aware of how the system works?
Yeah.
Are you aware? You know,
things are very complex, and it's ever evolving. But anyway, guys, that was a great video. If you liked our reaction on it, please remember to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everybody. Until next time, stay spiritual.